Welcome to Mind Twist Horrors, where your nightmare finds a voice, where true scary stories are whispered in the dark, so you can fall asleep to the kind of horror that lingers. You didn't come here by accident. You came for creepy bedtime horror, the kind that rides with you long after the story ends. Stories about roads that don't exist, signs that whisper back, and a GPS that doesn't want to help you escape. Tonight's story is one of the most disturbing road horror stories I've ever heard. Not because of what he saw, but because of how it ended. He was a night driver. Worked long-haul delivery across state lines. Never stayed in one place too long. But this one night, he was close to home. Too close to what used to be home, anyway. He'd been on the road for 14 hours straight, running on caffeine, static radio, and muscle memory. It started like every other late-night shift, he said. A smooth drive, a GPS reroute, and a playlist I didn't really listen to. But about halfway through the forest road, my GPS went dark. He tapped it. Screen stayed black. He tried his phone. No service. But then, just when he was about to pull over, the screen lit up again. A single line of text appeared. Turn left in 500 feet. Only, there was no turn. At least not one that should have been there. No street sign. No paved exit. Just a narrow dirt path, barely visible beneath overgrown branches. But the GPS insisted. The voice that usually sounded robotic, now sounded urgent. Turn now. Turn now. Turn now. The voice repeated, faster, almost frantic. I thought maybe it was glitching, he whispered. But something about that road, it looked recently used. There were faint tracks. Old tire grooves. And something carved into a wooden sign, barely hanging from one nail. Route 54, private access only. That was the first red flag. There is no Route 54 in that state. No, private access, highway through protected woodland. But he turned anyway. Because sometimes, when you're exhausted, you don't fight the voice that leads you. At first, the road seemed harmless. Just gravel and trees. Then the air got thicker. Like driving underwater. No birds. No wind. No crickets. Only the hum of tires on wet earth. And the whisper of black screen horror playing in the back of your mind. The headlights caught movement. Something darted between trees. He blinked. Nothing there. Then the GPS glitched again. The screen flickered and displayed something new. Welcome back, Daniel. That's when he slammed on the brakes. I never typed my name into that GPS, he said. It was a cheap aftermarket unit I bought used. No personalization. But now it was calling me by name. He tried turning it off. The power button didn't respond. Then the voice came back. Not from the GPS. But from the car speakers. Daniel. You're almost there. His phone powered on by itself. Camera opened. Flashlight blinked once, then stayed on. And in the reflection of the phone screen, he saw someone in the back seat. He turned fast. No one there. But the back seat was wet. Dripping. Like someone had been sitting there, soaked. That's when he looked up. And saw the road signs had changed. They weren't mile markers anymore. They were messages. Painted by hand. Jagged brush strokes. Glowing faintly in the headlights. No way out. Keep driving, Daniel. We remember you. He gripped the wheel tight. Because suddenly this wasn't a late-night delivery horror story anymore. It was a trap. A GPS horror story where the device wasn't guiding him. It was leading him back. He should have stopped. He should have reversed the car. But something about the road ahead, the way it curved like it had been expecting him, made it feel personal. Like it had been waiting. The trees on either side weren't just growing, they were leaning in. Branches arched like ribs. The headlights couldn't cut far enough ahead anymore. And every few feet, more signs. Not government-issued. Not reflective aluminum. But hand-painted, splintered wood. Daniel, don't forget this time. Slow down. He's crossing. And that's when he saw it. A figure. Dead center of the road. Not standing. Dragging. One foot behind the other, like it had forgotten how to walk. It wore his old high school hoodie. Same color. Same tear in the sleeve. Its head twitched when the headlights hit it. It turned. And it had his face. It was like looking at a memory that never really belonged to me, he said. Like someone took my face and wore it all wrong. The doppelganger didn't blink. Its mouth twitched open. And when it spoke, it was in the exact voice as Daniel's. You're late. The figure stepped into the trees. Gone. But the GPS blinked again. This time, displaying something completely different. Your stop is just ahead. They remember what you buried. That line shattered him. Because 10 years ago, Daniel had wrecked his car on a back road. A friend in the passenger seat. No cops. No call. Just panic, and a road that didn't exist. We got out. I was okay. He wasn't, Daniel confessed. I left him there. In the woods. When they searched, they said there was no road. Just trees. Nothing matched. Now he was back. Not by choice. But because the road had finally found him again. Up ahead was a clearing. An open field with a single streetlight. Old. Flickering. Underneath it, a car wreck. Bent metal. Broken glass. And in the driver's seat was Daniel. The younger Daniel. Eyes open. Chest still. But the radio in that wreck was playing the same black screen horror bedtime narration he'd listened to all week. The same voice. The same rain. A loop. A trap. That wasn't just a memory, he whispered. That was a version of me that never made it out. A new sign swung from the lamppost. Painted in the same shaky letters. Now you remember. And beneath it, the ground started to open. Wind kicks in, soft ambient moan. A hole. Wide, unnatural. Like something beneath had been pushing for years. And inside that hole was his friend's face. Not decomposed. Not decayed. Just watching him. Mouth opening slowly, then speaking with the same whisper the road had used all night. Your turn. I ran, Daniel said. I didn't care what direction. I just ran. He left the car. Left the signs. Left everything. And found himself back on the highway. Just like that. But his phone wouldn't stop ringing. Even now. It rings every night at 11:47 p.m., the time the GPS first glitched. And every time he answers, he hears that voice again. Turn left. Turn left. You're almost there. I didn't sleep that night. Daniel sat in the dark with every light on. No radio. No GPS. Just silence, and his thoughts. The phone didn't stop calling. Same time. Same voice. Turn left. You're almost there. But this time, the voice didn't come from the speaker. It came from the mirror. He'd been avoiding the bathroom. But when he finally looked into it, something was wrong. The reflection wasn't delayed. It was faster. When he blinked, it smiled. When he moved, it stood still. Then it leaned forward, his own face, and whispered. "There's still a version of you, down there. The one that never left the road." That night, Daniel tried something desperate. He smashed the GPS. Threw his phone in the trash. He even burned the hoodie the figure wore. But the road doesn't need devices to find you. It remembers your name. It remembers your fear. And when he went out to his car the next morning, his windshield had a message written in ash. Too late to undrive it. That day, Daniel walked miles. No destination. Just wanted the motion, the noise, to drown out the signs in his head. But halfway through the walk, he came across something impossible. A detour sign on a path that had never existed. Marked in the same paint as before. It read, "One more turn." He stood still for a long time. But this wasn't about choice anymore. The road never ended. It just waited. "I stepped onto the path," he said, "because pretending it didn't exist wasn't working. Because some ghosts don't follow you. You follow them." The air changed again. Cooler. Wet. His shoes soaked instantly. The trees leaned closer. And in front of him, rising from the soil, a signpost. Old. Rusted. Burned at the edges. "Welcome back, Daniel." The road had come to him now. And in the distance, he could hear the sound of his own car engine running. Waiting. Idling. Doors unlocked. Because maybe he never actually made it out that night. Maybe the real him is still driving. Still lost. Still rerouting. If you find yourself on a road you've never seen, and your GPS says it's faster, don't follow it. Not if the signs know your name. Because this story, this true scary story about a haunted road, isn't just his. There's a space in the back seat. Still wet. Still warm. And someone, or something, is already whispering directions. Black screen horror. Whispered bedtime fear. Buried memories that claw back up. If you've ever dreamed of a place that doesn't exist. If a road ever called your name. Story 2. Drop a comment below. At first, I thought I was just lost. I was driving back from a family funeral, 2 hours past sunset, when my GPS lost signal. And the road signs stopped making sense. They didn't have names or directions anymore. Just phrases. Keep your eyes forward. Don't look at the trees. And then I saw it. A sign nailed into a rotting post. Sprayed in red paint like it was written in panic. "Turn back, my name. Before it finds you." That's when I realized. The signs weren't guiding me. They were warning me. And whatever was out there already knew who I was. I was just trying to get home. That's how most true scary stories start, isn't it? An ordinary night drive. A shortcut. Something you've done 100 times before. But this time, something changed. It started after the funeral. I wasn't close to my cousin, but I went out of respect. Small town. Middle of nowhere. A place so forgettable, the GPS barely recognized it. By the time I left the cemetery, the sun had vanished, swallowed whole by gray clouds and the scent of damp earth. I punched in my home address, and took the first turn the GPS told me to take. That was my first mistake. The road narrowed quickly. Trees leaned in. No streetlights. No houses. Just gravel and the faint sound of my own tires, crunching over something softer than rock. And then the first sign appeared. Painted wood. Old. Barely legible in the high beams. Keep your eyes forward. I thought it was weird. Probably a leftover from a construction crew or an old local warning. But then, not even half a mile later, another sign. Do not look at the trees. That's when I started to feel it. That itch behind your ears, like something's watching you from the dark. I gripped the wheel harder. Turned the radio off. Even the GPS was silent now. Then the third sign hit me like a punch to the chest. This one had my name on it. Turn back, James. Before it finds you. That's not a name you see often. And I swear to you, I hadn't told anyone I was on that road. Not even my family. And yet, there it was. Red letters. Dripping like they'd been painted in a panic, or in blood. I slowed down. My hands were shaking. That's when the trees started moving. Not in the wind. There was none. They moved like they were breathing, like they were reacting to the car's engine. And worse? Some of them had faces. No, not carved faces. Real ones. Peeking out between the bark, half-formed, like the trees had started eating something human, and never finished. I hit the gas. Didn't care where I was going. Didn't care if I crashed. I just needed off that road. But it wouldn't end. The GPS kept rerouting, even without a signal. And the signs just got more personal. Don't listen to her, James. She's in the back seat now. Keep your mouth shut or she'll crawl through it. I didn't dare look in the mirror. I didn't even breathe through my mouth. Because I could feel it. Something sitting behind me. Wet. Heavy. Breathing shallow, but loud. I kept driving. Through turns I didn't recognize. Past trees that began to bleed when my headlights hit them. Somewhere around mile 20, the road split. One side said, "Safety ahead." The other, "Familiar pain." And on the ground in front of me, was my cousin's casket. Open. Empty. I turned off the car. Just sat there. Rain pounding the roof like fingernails. The GPS flickered back on one last time. The screen said, "Choose. You've been here before." That's when I remembered. This wasn't the first time I'd taken this road. Years ago, as a teenager, we played a game. My cousin and I, we used to dare each other to drive into the woods near his house at night. There were rumors. About a forest that remembers. About signs that show you the worst things you've ever done. I made him go in alone once. He never talked about what he saw. Now I think I know why. The last thing I saw before blacking out was another sign, floating just above the casket. Written in ash. "Welcome back, James. Let's try again." I woke up in my driveway. No gas in the tank. Mud on my tires, and something small sitting on the passenger seat. A wooden sign. Freshly carved. Still dripping red. It said, "She's still in the trees." If you've ever taken a wrong turn. If a road ever felt too quiet, too familiar. Or if you've ever seen a sign that felt like it was meant for you. You might not have been imagining it. Some roads don't lead anywhere. They remember. This has been another true scary story for sleep. Mind Twist Horrors, where buried memories find their voice. Subscribe for more whispered horror, and tell us in the comments if you've ever felt watched while driving.